What is up, guys? Pulse Panda here with my third episode of Starcraft as a noob. In this episode, I'm going to be going over basic strategies, why some units are good or bad in different matches, different building placements, walling off, cheeses, and handling them. I'm also going to briefly touch on some hotkeys. I'm also going to be recording this game live, mostly because there's some stuff that I want to be able to show you, and I won't be able to do that very well in a recording. That also means that there's going to be some interruptions and it won't be as perfect, so I apologize. So, first off, I'm going to go over building placement because I already have the game pulled up here. I'm going to resume it here. I'm just running a basic game, no AI, tons of minerals. Alright, so this is your ramp, obviously. This is your natural, and this is your the entrance to your natural. Usually you want to defend that with like a bunker here or something. But really, what do you want to do here? So it depends on the matchup, in my opinion. And this will also go over when to wall off. In almost every matchup, you don't want to wall off. And the reason is it can easily get picked. So for example, if you put a supply depot right here, that supply depot, if there's a siege tank right here, and any other sort of vision at all, the siege tank can just pick off the supply depot. And you don't want them to be vulnerable, and against Protoss, you can't really stop them from getting into your base even if you wanted to. And they're ranged. So the only time you ever want to wall off is against Zerg. And that is because, well, one, the Zerg are pretty decently good at early aggression, and that'll save your base. And they also don't have any ranged units early, meaning your wall off will actually keep your scouting hidden and all that good stuff. Because a Zergling can't hit a repairing SCV, mostly. So, otherwise, when you don't wall off, where do you want to put your buildings? Well, I mean, everyone's different. Personally, I like to put my first supply depot right here. Because that it just kind of limits it a little bit. It makes it look a little nicer and closed off. Other people like to put it here, or sometimes here, but that's not as common, or right here. The reason for these spots is there's gaps here, so an SCV can stand right here, right? Or they can go through right there, or right here. So the reason you want to put in a supply depot there is because with that there, well, now it can't get through, right? With the supply depot here, now the SCV has to go all the way around, right? And what does that accomplish? Well, that accomplishes one very specific thing, and that is defending your mineral line. So say a warp prism drops some zealots. Well, now they have a hard time to get to your mineral line because it's defended, there's no holes in it. Same thing with banelings, a bunch of other stuff too. But personally, I put my first supply depot here. I then put my barracks here. And then I, wall off down here and whatnot. Also, another thing is if you are playing and you build just a ton of barracks, and I'm just going to build a supply depot because I need one to build barracks. I didn't think about that. If you just build a giant mass of barracks, like no gaps at all, there's going to be Marines stuck in the middle. But you also don't want them spread out across the whole thing, because if any drops happen, you want to be able to constrict them enough so you can kill them off, but not enough that you constrict yourself. And it's actually really kind of hard to do. There's very few examples out there that are pretty good with that. But basically, don't just build a ton of freaking barracks all right there. Just kind of space them out, like, and one right there, and that'll be totally fine, and you'll have no problem there. Let's see. So the next thing I want to go over is why some units. Actually, you know what? Let's go over cheeses first. So, what is a cheese? A cheese is when a very, very, very early attack happens, or something that basically if it fails, they're so far behind, they 9 times out of 10 might as well surrender. So for the Terran point of view, a cheese is doing a 2 racks, building 2 barracks like right here, and just rushing them with Marines and other stuff. Or putting a bunker here isn't necessarily cheesing, But if you put like 5 of them completely wall off and have like an army of barracks behind there, that's kind of cheesing. A Zerg doing a 6 pool or a 9 pool, more like now. That's a cheese. Anything early that really uses a lot of resources to get out, and it's really hard to recover from. To deal with a cheese, obviously it varies by situation. The last game I played, he just Reaper rushed me, and I didn't end up winning because that's one of the hardest cheeses for me to handle. But so if you're facing Zerg and you have your wall off here, right? Usually, by the time you have your supply, your barracks, and your supply depot, you'll have a Marine, hopefully. And the Zerglings won't come in. But let's just pretend like the Zerglings come in, and they're in your base, and there's 6 of them, and you don't have your Marine, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, you basically stall them until your Marine comes out. In my opinion, that is basically what you do. You just gotta micro your SCVs. Just move them around. If this SCV is low, have this SCV repair it. Like, repair your SCVs. Or let all the Zerglings get in the middle there. Right? So they're in the middle, and just attack move. That'll surround the Zerglings so they can't get away. And just micro repair. So like the ones on the outside can repair the ones that are attacking in the middle. And that'll reduce the number of lost SCVs while giving the Marine time to come out. And if you can defend against that, you should be able to get your base nice and walled off, and then they're not going to have anything to come up with for at least a little while. Also, dealing with a pylon into photon cannon rush is not nearly as common anymore, but it used to be a thing when I started playing, where a Protoss would send a probe and put it like here, and it would warp in a pylon, and then some cannons, and then some cannons, and then the pylon, and then some more cannons, and basically creep it up into your base. So if a probe, as I'm used to that being a thing, if you see a probe come into your base, just attack move with your SCV, or have it attack the probe itself, or just have it patrol around and see what the probe is doing. Because if there's a pylon there and you don't see it there, and then all of a sudden there's cannons, you're pretty much going to lose and you're going to regret it. But what do you do if there is a cannon there, or a pylon there? If a pylon is building, all you have to do is just take all your SCVs and attack it. Your SCVs can kill it, I promise. In fact, you don't even need all of them, because all you need is surround. Those SCVs can kill it, and then try and micro and capture that probe, and that's a little more advanced. But that's just basically like one of the most important things in my opinion. If anything is being built in your base really early game, just take all of your SCVs and just attack, and that'll stop a lot of different rushes, including Nexus rushes, hatchery rushes, the cannon rushes, all that crap. And you'll be thanking me when you get that down. So certain units are bad in games, and actually while I talk about this I'm going to pull it up. So what are some units that are bad in certain matchups? Well, again, like most of this game, it's a lot of up to opinion and each individual person. But personally, I think that Widowmines aren't very good in TVT. They're really, really strong in PvP or TVP, and they are only decent in TVZ until they have more than 10 roaches. And that's because the Widowmines, while they do pretty good against roaches, they don't do amazing, and roaches can survive the Widowmine assault, and I personally prefer to have tanks then. So why are tanks really bad in TVP, and why are Widowmines really good in it? So it all comes down to the stats, and I'm gonna load this up here and show you guys what I mean. Alright, so let's spawn us some Widowmines in a tank, and then let's spawn us some Stalkers and some Zealots. Where are the Zealots? There they are. Oh, that's a probe. Alright, so Widowmines, right, they do splash damage, and they also, and I'm not sure, here it is, It does plus 35. It does bonus damage versus shields, and it does really good splash damage. So if you have these 3 Widow Mines here, and you attack, it's really painful. And if you even bother to micro the Widow Mines at all, you like, so let's just do reset. Yeah. Yeah, I failed miserably. That was bad. Alright, well, you see what I was kind of trying to do. I've never actually bothered learning how to do that, but you micro them until it hits all of them. And you can see the power of that. It's actually pretty strong. But, on the other hand, if you take the siege tank, right, and you just have it there, it takes quite a lot to actually kill the Protoss. And they're slow, and then this happens and the siege tank is dead. So that is why I think that siege tanks are actually not very good against them. Not to mention Colossus. They get kind of destroyed by Widow Mines, and the Protoss are all about shields, and Widow Mines do bonus damage versus shields. I mean, it really comes down to just that. So then why are, that's pretty much it. You just have to know the different, stats and whatnot of the units. So never, I'm gonna just go out and say this, never, ever, ever get siege tanks in TVP, and really don't get Widow Mines unless you're gonna go a lot of Widow Mines. Don't get Widow Mines in TVT. Get tanks, because the enemy Terran's gonna get tanks, and tanks win. And early game Zerg is fine with Widow Mines. Like if you get, how do I clear? If you have just a bunch of Zerglings, just a lot, and I mean I still think too many Widow Mines. Yeah, and Widow Mines are fine, and the Zerglings just got destroyed. But if you instead take just, I don't even know how many Widow Mines we had, 4. If you take the same bunch of roaches, granted it'll still do a decent amount of damage, but it's not nearly as good. So early game tanks or tanks after they get more than 10 roaches are usually a good idea. Widow Mines are good for defense, like put them in your mineral lines to stop mutalisks, put them in your base to stop mutalisks, all that stuff. Use them early game for defense, because you saw how effective they are against Zerglings. And that's pretty much all I have on that section. So the one last thing I have is hotkeys. So you saw when I was, let's just take these, move them out of the way, there. So hotkeys are kind of important things, so let's just kind of go over that. This is your hotkey bar, and you can have a lot of different hotkeys. So I have a different setup. I accidentally paused. I have a different setup going on. I have a hotkey called the core, and I like it better personally. I feel like it makes me play faster, but the principle is still the same. So when you want to select just all of the Widow Mines, you can just hotkey it, and there's different tutorials. I'm not going to go into like how all the hotkey mechanics works. You can seriously just look through your settings, or there's other people that can handle that better than I can. And there's like the perfect hotkey setup for Terran or something, like scientifically proven or whatever. But and then there's these. So when I burrow, I don't click on the command card. I mean, I could click on here and it would work, but it would be way slower. So learning your hotkeys is really good, because if you are able to, just hotkey and do everything faster, and then, switch around and be able to click on your buildings and move these around while unburrowing them and all that crap, you're gonna have a really easier time. So I recommend seriously learning your hotkeys, practicing your hotkeys, and actually there is a arcade game that is dedicated to mastering hotkeys. Let's see if I can find it here. it is the Hotkey Trainer. Hotkey Trainer dash HOTS, and this basically you just grind out some games. It has you build random buildings, and you just see how fast you can get. And that thing teaches you well. I learned this entire new hotkey setup in a day, and it was good. I mean, granted, it wasn't perfect, but this thing works a lot. And so I seriously recommend learning your hotkeys. They are invaluable, and they will get you far. So anyway, that is all I have for today. Oh, very end, I promised. Filter Starcraft, thank you very much for your shout out on your stream today. It really means a lot. If those of you guys who don't even know who that is, Filter Starcraft, I'll put the link in my description below. He's great. He makes some really good Bronze to Masters series. I think his last one was all about the mentality portion of it, and I hope he has more coming. They helped me get so much better at this game. And thank you so much for the shout out. And for those of you guys who came over to my channel from there, thank you very much. And please leave feedback. I seriously want feedback. Everything I'm doing wrong, everything I'm doing right. These last few videos I feel like have been a little bit off, and I'm trying to figure out why. So if it's good, just let me know. I've been freaking out about it, actually. So anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching. Hit that like, subscribe, and follow button. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. I also have an email at my website at www.pulsepanda.com, spelled just like my channel. Leave some comments. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.